Everybody loves lottery cards. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you're about. Lottery cards are highly desired in the flesh and blood community and in all TCGs, I would have you. I've never seen a Reddit post or anything where they said, I pulled a lottery card and I'm upset. I do not like this lottery card. Everybody loves them. And a lottery card is really just a card that is printed that has a significant lower supply than the rest of the cards in the set and just in general, and it has a higher price point. It's a very generic definition. And in the new set for Flesh and Blood, Part the Misfail, you have a mega lottery card, I would imagine, with Enigma, where it's a 1 out of 100 cards. There's only 100 cards ever printed. I would classify that as like a mega lottery card. And then you also have the Marvels. You have 18 Marvels, which is a pretty big jump from the last couple sets, and I would consider those a lottery card aspect. And I want to go into really two big subtopics in this video. The first is I really want to just talk about why do people like lottery cards so much? It seems like it's a glitch in the matrix here. And then I want to go into more the history of the term lottery card, just really talking about it, how it relates to Flesh and Blood, and the history of that term. So first and foremost, right, I feel like as a game creator, as a product developer, there's always a really tough thing to where you have to have a target market of individuals you're catering to. And it's hard to please everyone. Everyone's heard that term. If you try to please everyone, you ultimately please no one. Lottery cards are a complete loophole to that statement. Everybody loves lottery cards. It doesn't matter if you're a player, collector, whatever type of thing you're doing in the community. Lottery cards are loved, right? It's kind of a big glitch in the matrix, if you will, where everyone just likes it. You can literally please everyone with lottery cards. And, the first reason I would say is because everyone out there likes money. Who doesn't like money? Who doesn't want to open a card out of a booster pack and see a $1,000, $2,000 bill on the table? I mean, there's been a lot of Twitter posts I've seen, screenshots of people pulling the new Enigma. It's like, hey, what is this? I haven't seen this card before. And just figuring out that they literally have at least, $1,500 card right in front of their face is very exciting. People like money. It doesn't matter who you are. And, on the surface, that whole concept, obviously, that's a very obvious thing to, note. I'm not saying anything pretty new here. But, in a sense of it, you think, okay, isn't that a little weird? Shouldn't this be like a card game? Isn't it weird how there's a monetary value associated with this? And like, is it bad that we're so desiring that? Is that like a sin in a way? And I would say no. It leads me to the second point, is that when you open up booster boxes, you are gambling. It is a gamble. When you open a box, you could pull cards worth $200. You could pull cards worth $50. There's a collectability aspect within the boxes, and cards in the box have monetary value and a varying ability or a variability of monetary value in the box. So inherently, you are gambling. And gambling is, you put money up, you take a risk, and you could get more money than you put in, or you could get less money that you could put in, just very simplistically. So when you have a lottery type aspect, you are basically increasing the pull rates, the hit chance, right? So when you think of anything like eating cake, right, you're basically just making the cake taste better, in certain aspects. You're adding more to the gambling experience. And overall, gambling in a sense isn't like the most like virtuous thing in the world, but ultimately for trading card games, this whole model is the best way for Legend Story Studios and companies out there who make trading card games to make the best games possible that they can. We've all seen what happens to living card games. They're all dead. So the capitalist model of, hey, make a $100, $90 booster box and there's money in it in the secondary market and collectible cards is the best way that Legend Story Studios can fund their operations, make the best damn playable trading card game ever because they have a lot of overhead costs. They have to, create all the different cards. They have to commission the artwork. They have to play test the shit out of it. They have to distribute it around the world. They have to host events. There's a lot of expense that comes to that. So you need to increase the box price for it. This is an expensive hobby. But then Legend Story Studios and trading cards overall, they don't want to have it just be like an expense to where you go to the movies and that's it. You have an expense. It's nice that these are more of collectible game pieces. And I know I went on a tangent right there, but essentially there's monetary value associated with the cards, and in a sense it is gambling, because when you open a booster box, there's a variability of different cards you can buy or get from your pulls. The last thing I want to note for the reason why this is and this is kind of like a sub note here. I think that it's really important to realize it's so easy for Legend Story Studios and a lot of these companies to implement lottery cards within their products. I mean, if you think about the Marvels, right? Like let's say for Part the Mistfield, right? Now don't get me wrong. The foiling on these are absolutely incredible, right? These are the two cards that I pulled from my Part the Mistfield booster box, or I opened 2 cases, right? And literally all these differ from the regular cards is they literally made it full art and put a bunch of foiling on it, right? So that, within a sense, is great because the players of the game can still play the cards. This is a very cheap card on its own and non-foil, but then all you have to do is foil it up and then make it really, really desirable, and you have a really nice card that people are going to want to collect. In that, within itself, you add so much value to the boxes because you're putting something that's very hard to come by. I think that that's a very important aspect of it, is that the concept of putting the lottery cards in your product isn't that hard, in my opinion. I mean, it takes a little bit of extra, tweaking of, okay, how are we going to foil it and template it to be distinguishable? But overall, it's a slam dunk. The players have their cards that they can do, and these cards are for people who want to collect something that looks really badass. So that's the whole concept. So just to recap of why people like lottery cards is because everyone likes money, and opening booster boxes is gambling, and essentially you're just putting more of a hit into the boxes that people are opening, and overall it's a slam dunk. It's easy to implement from the companies, so it's great to see that Legend Story Studios is tweaking it more and more as the last 3 sets have come out, from what I've seen. And Part the Mistfield did a banger job, especially with the gold packs and Enigma, the mega lottery card. So I really like to see, I've enjoyed to see how they've tweaked it over time. Now, I want to go into the history of lottery cards. The whole lottery card verbiage right there, that word, right? Like, where does it come from and everything like that. So the whole concept of lottery cards, right? In a sense, it's very simplistic. You just have, if you think about the whole heart of what collectability is, it's a lower supply of certain cards. You don't print things till the end of time. You have scarcity. That's the buzzword. So lottery card is just in a sense, a descriptive word to explain the scarcity around the cards that are being printed in your booster box, right? Now, overall, from what I've seen and the interwebs and being in the trading card game, just monitoring trading card games for a while now, the first time I've heard lottery card mentioned was in Magic the Gathering. You had the Expedition Lands and the Kaladesh Inventions. That's the first time I've heard of that term being used, where, hey, these certain cards are, for the Kaladesh Inventions, for instance. Let me focus on that. Apparently, it's 1 out of 44 booster packs that you get one of these cards. And I think it may have been more of 1 out of 60 booster packs. I have varying degree of information on Google. But it was, let's say it's 1 out of 44 booster packs. Now, that's a pretty rare card. And it's interesting if you equate, and let me make it very clear, is that the term lottery card probably was used before that point in time. I don't know exactly. If you know a better point in reference time, please let me know in the comments down below. But that was the first usage of it that I saw in the TCG space from my point of view. And it's interesting if you compare it to Flesh and Blood. So Kaladesh Inventions were, a good amount of card list, and it's 1 out of 44 booster packs. Now for Bright Lights, you had 9 different Marvels, and we don't know how many per pack. For Heavy Hitters, you had 10 Marvels, right? 10 total Marvels, and then 101 and 192 packs. And then Part the Misfail, you had 18 Marvels, 1 out of 100 booster packs. Now this is very interesting. So essentially, we've almost doubled the amount of Marvels in this new set, Part the Misfail. We go from 10 to 18, and we've substantially, and overall the rate has kind of stayed the same if you think about it. So Heavy Hitters 1 out of 192, and then Marvels 1 out of 100. Or actually, the rate has increased. You hit more Marvels, but if you think about it, the rarity kind of stayed the same. If the print runs are the same, if you catch my drift. If you think about it, 1 out of 100, and you have 18, and then Heavy Hitters 1 out of 192, you have 10. So it's harder to hit them in Heavy Hitters, but when you do, there's less quantity out there, 10 versus 18. So the print run, if the print runs are the same, the total amount of the Marvels in both of those sets should be roughly close together. It's interesting how they did something like that. But I like very much that they're increasing the amount of Marvels. That's a really interesting, take. And if you think about it, they are in a sense a lottery card. If it's 1 out of 100 booster packs, that's very close to the 1 out of 144 for the Kaladesh Inventions. Now, to note, Kaladesh Inventions had a good amount of quantity. I don't know for sure, but if you think about it, Magic also produces a fuckload more of booster boxes than Flesh and Blood, so there's that there. But it's just a very, very fascinating concept where I can see a reminiscence of lottery cards in Flesh and Blood with these Marvels, and especially with Enigma Full Moon, the Enigma, the 1 out of 100 card. That is a mega lottery card, and from what I've seen online, people are really enjoying it. So it's nice to see how this is evolving over time with Flesh and Blood sets. The total number of Marvels isn't staying the same each set, and they're tweaking it, especially with this new gold pack in Part the Misveil. Another couple little side notes to say with lottery card aspects in the past. So you had the Emperor. So I believe it was in Dynasty, the Emperor, it was like a 1 out of 1,000 card. And I think the big takeaway that we learned from that is people like it. It's a desired card, but it's kind of a too high of a print run in a way, right? 1,000 is a good amount, and it doesn't really entice those big whale collectors in it. It was a good implementation, I think, overall. I think it got a lot of people hyped, and the card was selling for like $800, $1,000. I think now it dipped to like the $750 range at this point in time, but it was a desired card. Now, Dusk Till Dawn, I think we have a lot of more learnings, and I've discussed this in previous videos, other people have too. The sketch, people don't really like as much, especially when it comes to high-end cards. That was found out with that. Also, serialization, I also personally don't like serialization, but I also think that a lot of collectors in the space looked at the serialization as like, why you do this? So overall, I think that those were the two learning points with those lottery cards, because those, I think it was a chain and a prism card, both were like 1 out of 20, like only 20 cards of each were produced, which was really rare. And if you think about it, each one was special in its own way because it has its own sketch, but the issue is that it was too comparable to like $100 or $50 cards that you could just buy and have like artists commission a little sketch for. So that's, I think, where it kind of just fell flat on its face. So, those were the two learnings for that. But then now with Part the Misfail, I think you have a chef's kiss, like really great execution. You have a really good amount of Marvels, and you have the You have the 8 Marvels for let's see, you had the Hero Marvels, but you also had these things, right? These things look so beautiful, and the increased amount of Marvels I think is great because it lowers the total quantity of all the other ones out there. If you have a higher amount of quantity of Marvels, then these become more rare, which I think is a great step forward with collectability. The mega lottery. I think that this is huge. I mean, no, everyone loves them. So I just I thought it was a good topic to discuss and go into detail. And I know I didn't say any like mind blowing revolutionary things. I just think that it's good to just call it like it is. Like lottery cards are a hit. Part the Misfail I think did an excellent job at just encompassing that feeling, but also not only the cards, but you had the whole gold pack type thing. So you feel like you got hit like a lottery pack, which was really nice. That's that whole new concept from, just a lottery card. You had a lottery pack. So one in, 2 cases, I believe, had this gold pack, which is, oh, no. 1 out of 20 boxes, I believe, which is really rare, really great. It's that dopamine hit. So let me know what you think. Cheers. Thanks, man.